students, it's Mrs. Girot, and today we're going to design a tile pattern together. 3.02. In the lesson Design a Tiled Background, you'll draw an image and then repeat it to make a pattern that can be displayed on a computer screen's background, like one of these. A tile is a piece of hard material such as stone, ceramic, or glass. Tiles are used to cover walls, ceilings, and floors. Tiling is like mosaic, except that tiles are much larger than a mosaic's tessera. Tiles are often square, but they can be any type of geometrical shape with edges that fit together. Sometimes patterns of color and shapes are added to a tile. Tiles with the same pattern can be placed together to make a large artistic pattern. Tiling has been used for decorating spaces for thousands of years. Today, tiling can often be seen on kitchen floors and in bathrooms. Small square images can be used like tiles to decorate computer desktop or web page backgrounds. You'll learn about desktop backgrounds next. A desktop background is what is shown on the computer screen behind all the software programs and icons. It's visible when no software programs are running. Computers come with a default desktop background image, but people often change the default image to one of their own images as a way to personalize or decorate their computer screen. A desktop background can also be called wallpaper. Tiled backgrounds are desktop backgrounds that repeat a small image over and over again to fill the computer screen. Using Inkscape, you'll design a tile pattern and then use it to decorate your computer's desktop. So the next thing you're going to do is open up Inkscape, and we are going to make it so that we do not see this page border. How to do this is to click File, and then you'll go down to Document Properties, and down here where it says Show Page Border at the bottom, unclick that box, and now we don't have any borders. Then you just close that, and now you'll go to View, and we want to see the page grid. Ta-da! If you didn't catch that, just rewind the video and watch it again and pause it as you need to get that part set up. And let's save. File, Save As, and I want you to make sure that you're in your Digital Arts folder, which I am, and I'm going to call this, and you are too, by my first and last name. So you're going to type your first and last name, not mine, and you're going to put Digital Arts Tile. Okay? Your first and last name, Digital Arts Tile. Or you can even just put tile. That would be fine. But Digital Arts is specific to your class, so it'll be easier to locate that file later if you ever needed to remember what it was for. And then just go ahead and click Save. Perfect. And then the name of your file shows up at the top of your page. The grid. In Inkscape, the grid is a series of evenly spaced lines. Drawing software programs use grids to make it easier to draw lines and shapes to specific points. A grid can be used with Snap to make sure lines start and end at the intersections of the lines of the grid. You'll learn about Snap next. Snap. In most drawing software programs, Snap is a setting that forces a point or line to be drawn to specific points on a grid. The Snap setting makes it easier to make drawings that are accurate. Without it, you'd have to be more careful where to click to draw a line. In Inkscape, when the grid is visible, snapping is turned on by default. You'll draw a square using the grid and snap next. Using the rectangle tool, click and drag to draw a square or rectangle. It doesn't matter what size it is because we're going to change that next. If your rectangle has rounded corners, up here, click on Make Corners Sharp. If it doesn't have rounded corners, then you're good to go. If your rectangle has a stroke, which mine does, mine has a red stroke or outline, come down here to your palette and hold down Shift and click on the X for none, and it will get rid of your stroke. Now I've noticed that my rectangle is a little transparent looking, so I'm going to my fill and stroke box and I'm just going to make sure that I've got a solid fill. And yes, my opacity is at 100%. I'm going to pick a different color and just make sure I'm in a good situation here. So just clicking red. Okay, looks good. Now we're going to go ahead and make the width, which is what this W stands for. We're going to change that to 400. So just click in the box and hit the backspace button to delete and type 400 and hit enter. And now our width is 400. I have to click save. Okay, so if my width is 400 and I want to turn this into a square, what does my height need to be? Squares, right? Both sides are the same length, so this would also be 400. And so now I have a perfect square. Beautiful. One way that you could see the whole thing is to go up to the View menu, zoom, and click Selection. And that will make it so that whatever you have selected shows up in the window. And if you'd like to change the color of your square, you just come down to your palette, and remember, your palette goes on and on forever. Pick the color that you like the best, the very best. Oh, so hard to do. I'm gonna stick with red. Seamless tile patterns. Seamless tile patterns line up at the edges so that repeated tiles don't show a break from one tile to the next. Non-seamless tile patterns don't line up at the edges. Non-seamless tile patterns show breaks between the tiles. You'll draw either a seamless or non-seamless tile pattern next. Right now on this square is we're supposed to create a pattern, any pattern. And this is the example of a pattern that they created in our online textbook. So you can use the Bezier tool, rectangle tools, ellipse tools, any tools that you want to, and just create a little pattern. Now, I always like to brainstorm a little bit before I do a project. I don't know about you. So I went to Google and typed in repeating tile patterns, and I'm coming up with some really groovy ideas. American Awareness Month, so although I don't think I'm gonna quite get a flag, I think I am still gonna go with red, gold, black, and green just because I want to honor the African flag. And since we're at it, I might as well just show you how you can use your color picker, and I'm going to grab these colors right here, copy that, and I'm just going to come over and paste that image on here, and I'll be able to replicate these colors here. So for example, if I just select my square and I want to pick that color exactly, then I'm going over here to my color picker, and I have to click save a couple times to make sure it's working. Click here, and that automatically changes it so that it's the same color. And I'm going to click off of that so that's not selected, and I will do a triangle. So that's going to be a 3-pointed star. So I'm going to get my star tool. So there is some creativity involved in this. You have to kind of problem solve. Think of the design that you want to do. Notice that I have red selected, so if I draw on here, it's not going to show up very well. So I'm just going to quickly change that to green. You can see that my fill changed to green here in this box, and then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have, well, we can do the polygon, and yeah, it's a 3-sided polygon, not a 3-sided star. And then I'm going to change that to 3 corners, and I should be able to draw a nice green. Yay. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to hit Control Z, and I'm going to hold down Control, and that is going to make it so that it is like what is that called when all of the sides are the same? Is that called an isosceles? An isosceles has at least 2 sides that are equal length. So now I just need to make sure that I'm using my select and transform tool, and I need to flip it. So I'm going to flip this over the x-axis like that, and then I'm going to just move it over into that corner. And what I want to do, and I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to grab this and just slide it so that that corner meets there and it snaps. Remember how I was talking about using that grid and how things would snap? It perfectly snapped into place. Now I need this halfway down my grid. So I'm just going to actually count them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I counted and there's 38. So I need this to be 38 divided by 2. I need this to be at the 19th tile. It is currently at the 20th, so I'm going to move it up 1 tile and it snaps right into place. Perfect. So I've got my green done. And now I'm going to just use my brains, and instead of doing that process over and over again, I'm just going to take that one, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hit Control C and Control V, and I just pasted that back down. I'm going to flip that over the x-axis again, and this one I'm going to move down. You'll notice I have to click a lot, and that should snap right into place. What color do I want that one? I've got, oh, my green. I'm going to have to match up my colors in a second here, aren't I? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that one more time. Control copy, Control V. And this time I'm going to flip it over the y-axis, I think. Let's see. No, that didn't help me. I need to actually rotate this around 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. There we go. Oh boy, a little bit of geometry, a little bit of spatial reasoning going on. Can't beat that. Okay, so now I have 3 triangles. One of the first one's already red. That was my color underneath, right? Okay, so this one, I'm going to make my green one, and I'm going to use my color swatch. So I'm coming over to grab my color picker, and then I'm going to pick on the color that I want it. Whoops. When you're making a video, things are challenging. So I have to click save after everything I do. Okay, so let's try this and see. Yep, I got my color picker, and boom, you saw that. That color was different enough that it changed to that green, and it looks awesome. Red, yellow. I need yellow. Maybe I'm going to put black across from it. So I'm going to go save and grab my selection tool and get a hold of this triangle. Okay, and this one I'm going to change to black. And I could use my color picker, but black is right on my palette at the bottom. So I'm going to go the easy route and just grab black, because black's black. And then the last one, I'm going to make that yellow color. So save. Select that triangle. Ooh, it just slid over one. Yeah, let me grab that and move it back over. It snapped out of place. There we go. I need my color picker. There it is. And it changes it to yellow. Ooh, I love it. I've got the colors of the African flag. It's looking so good. And I think I like it. I like it a lot. So there's my pattern. It's like a quilt. Okay, so one thing that is noted in the directions is if you want to make a seamless tile, you have to make sure that the shapes and lines that touch the bottom edge line up with the shapes or lines at the top edge. Also do this for the left and right edges. So on this one right here, because you've got yellow, that is that width up at the top, when you go and stack another one of these on top, this bottom one is not going to match it. It's going to have blue on the edge. That's not going to be seamless, okay? But this one will be seamless because it's got yellow in the exact, well, this one's a little off too. So this one's also a little off, but here on the left and right edges, you do have a seamless border. So that's something to think about, the way that when you visualize all of your tiles being stacked next to each other, how is it going to look? So you're just going to continue your pattern until you like how it looks. If you want to change the colors of anything you drew, use the palette or fill and stroke panel to do so. And just remember, when if you are putting a stroke on a thing, just remember that you have to hold down Shift to change the stroke color when using the palette below. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to group the pattern. And I'm going to go ahead and just delete my swatch that I was using. So to group it, you're just going to hit Control A, and that is going to select everything, okay? Or you can do, I think you can do Edit, Select All. And notice the shortcuts right there. Okay, and then we're going to go to Object, no, sorry, Path, and we are going to click Object to Path. This is going to let you edit the group shapes later. Now click the Object menu and Group. Woohoo, notice it's all one selection. The clone tile command creates copies of an object that are linked to the original object. When the original object is changed, the clones are immediately updated to match it. The clone tile command opens a dialog box which has many options for tiling objects in different ways. Soon, you'll use an object to make cloned tiles. When you do, you'll use simple translation, which means the cloned tiles will be spread out next to each other and oriented the same way as the original instead of being flipped or spun around in different directions. If you want to clone several objects at once, they'll need to be grouped together first. You've already grouped your design into a single object. You'll create clones of the object to make a 4x4 grid of tiles next. Okay, so make sure that you have your object selected, and you're going to go to the Edit menu, and if you go down, you'll notice Clone, and you're going to select, click Tiled Clones. And notice the Create Tiled Clones dialog box pops up. Just make sure that the Symmetry tab is selected, and your drop-down box should be set to P1 Simple Translation. You'll notice there is a drop-down box with other options that you might choose to play around with, but just for this assignment, let's keep it simple. And then we're going to change the rows column to 4 and the columns to 4, and click Create. And if nothing happens, click Save. Look at this. This is so awesome. And I am going to be zooming out. Now, this created, and we can zoom out, just click your zoom tool and hold down Shift. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, how fun is that? If you're ever wanting to make a quilt, get in there and create your design first in Inkscape. How sweet is that? Now, your first tile here, the original that you created, it is actually on top of the grid. So let's see if I can get mine selected and moved. Ah, see? So here's the grid that was created. So you just need to delete that original tile, I believe. Okay, but before we do that, we have to go to the edit menu and we have to click deselect. I don't know why, but just following directions to make sure it all goes well. And then you can select that tile and hit delete to get it gone. Okay. Okay, so let's just say that you get your pattern drawn and some of the edges aren't lining up the way that you want them to. Mine are lining up just fine because I picked a very simple geometric pattern. But if you did something more complex, you might need to get your Edit Paths by Nodes tool and come over and grab a shape. Okay, and mine wasn't working a second ago, so I clicked off of everything and I went back to Edit, Deselect. So if your Nodes tool isn't working, just go back to Edit, Deselect again. And now when I select my Nodes tool, I can go in and I can click on each individual shape. And if I want to, I can adjust things. And look, oh, that was sweet. Did you see that? And you also can change the colors from here as well. I'm going to see if I can grab a hold of a specific shape and change the color. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Yep, it works. So you can do the colors too. I had to use my node tool to get a hold of those small shapes. Save. First, last name, DigArtsII tile. Perfect. Now I also want you to export this. So File, Export Ping Image, and it's going to just go to the same file and it's going to have the same name, except it'll automatically have ping at the end. And I'm going to click Close when completed so that I know that it has exported, and then click Export, the one with the green check, not Export As. Now mine's not doing anything. That's because I used up all my RAM. I click Save, and now my export will work. So as always, you're always going to submit your ping and your Inkscape file. I need you to submit this to our exit ticket folder under live classes. This is our January 25th class, and there's the exit ticket folder right there. Please submit both your .svg. That's the file that looks like an internet icon. Yeah, this right here, even though it doesn't say SVG anywhere, you know, that's why I recommend putting DigArts. You know that when it has that icon that's just not a picture, just your internet logo or an Inkscape logo, you know that that's your SVG, that's your Inkscape editable file that you need to turn in. And then if you don't have a ping image there, go back and check, did you click export? Ah, there is my ping. So remember, if you can't find that ping file, go in there and first of all, make sure, like when you go file, if you can't find either of your files, just resave them. Make sure that you actually have them in the correct folder where you wanted them to save. They might have saved someplace else. So just resave them and re-export them to the file that you wanted them. So submit both of those files to that Dropbox, and that's your exit ticket.